Tell me if you heard this one. A prince with a magic sword transforms into a barbarian to fight a yellow-faced skull demon who has the body of a smurf. And he does it with the help of his pussycat. If you haven't figured it out already, we're going to be talking about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
By the power of Greyskull!
What can I say? It's an absurd idea. Anything to do with these types of characters on paper would be absurd. But back in the 80s, this was just the sort of magic that came out of Filmation Studios. Of course, this was based on a toy line, which was created by Mattel back in 1982. These characters were part of the Masters of the Universe toy collection, a series of action figures which Mattel had released specifically to cater to young boys who were looking for something different after the entire Star Wars craze. And they had this squat-like feature where their hands would be in one specific pose, their legs would be squat, and they were just incredibly muscular. Just the type of thing you needed for young kids, specifically boys, to actually gravitate to and have massive battles all on this little playset stage. A year later, in order to support the actual toy sales, Filmation would actually come in and actually create an entire season titled He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Ah, just what everybody needs.
After watching the adventures of Adam, He-Man, Teela, Man-at-Arms, Skeletor, Beastman, and of course the Sorceress and Orko, I was hooked. There really was this magical thing about these characters. They're so absurd. You have a barbarian who rides on a green cat. They have technology which is far beyond our own, yet they use magic and fight for the power of a gigantic green skull-faced castle. This is absurd.
What in the world's going on?
Well, it looks like the sorceress is throwing some kind of far-out party.
As absurd as it was just this magical series that came out of literally nowhere. The toys themselves I don't really think had any real direction other than the mini-comics that were included with them. Filmation Animation took these characters and started writing wonderful, wonderful stories around them. You really have to hand it to the creativity in Masters of the Universe, particularly in the villains. Skeletor himself is incredibly evil. He has no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Away from Greyskull, the sorceress is powerless to resist. When it has it all, she will be part of the Dragon Pearl forever, and her power will be mine!
He has a skull for a face, blue skin, and comes from a different dimension. He's aided by multiple allies in his repertoire of evil henchmen, including Evelyn, the Mistress of Darkness, Beastman, who controls all animals, good and bad, Merman, the Master of the Sea, Triclops, who can use his 3 different eyes to see behind objects, through objects, and even around corners, Trapjaw, the Master of Mechanics, who wields all of the different armaments and interchanges them at will.
Skeletor, why have you summoned us here?
At last I have the means to conquer Eternia and crush He-Man once and for all. We've all heard that before, Skeletor.
But of course, it doesn't end there. Skeletor has so many different minions, including Spydor, Cobra Khan, Whiplash. It really is an immense number of villains in the categories. Just way too many to name here. But He-Man himself has allies as well. He is always surrounded by friends and people who he trusts, including Teela, Man-at-Arms, Stratos, Mechanic, and a myriad of other wonderful characters who help He-Man along the way. My particular favorite has always been Ram Man. Ram Man is this really, honestly, he's just an adorable character. He uses his head to solve situations, and unfortunately, I guess over time, it's caused him a little bit of, well, let's just say he's not the brightest apple on the tree.
I'm more out of practice than I thought.
I can make your job easier. I found another entrance off to the side.
One of my favorite characters in the series has to be Emir. I don't know what to say about this guy. He's just this, oh my gosh, over-the-top character. He is a dragon, and he lives on the mountains of Dark Smoke. It's one of these characters who you really just have to wonder what the writers were thinking. He's an ancient dragon from long ago who lives on Eternia. He has a hoard of gold, lives in a sphere which protects him and his people from outside interference. But when he's finally introduced to us, it is under the most dire of circumstances. Being the type of dragon that he is, he looks upon the people, in this case He-Man, who's coming for help, and treats them with a matter of disdain, reminding them that humans came to him for help at one point, and they showed no gratitude once he gave them that help.
I am He-Man, Great Dragon, and I am here to ask your aid.
Silence. Dragons pay little attention to the lies of legend.
He-Man!
I can't break loose.
Enough! You have courage. Something I have seen in very few of your race. It has been 1,000 years since I last spoke with humans. I found them vain, greedy, warlike, untruthful, and quite ugly.
But let's be honest, one of the real reasons I watched He-Man and the Master Universe was for the action. Every single week, He-Man would be battling Skeletor or some new form of evil, whether that be wizards or different types of armies, situations which he would encounter on a daily basis, and he would always triumph in the end. The sequences that were played out by Filmation and the intricate storylines that were presented were just incredible. Every single week you could expect He-Man to be throwing an orb at incredible speeds, running faster than elks, being chased down by the most hideous creatures, and still, with a combination of his strength, but more often his own wits, he was able to overcome things and come to a great resolution that would satisfy everybody.
Your sorceress is trapped inside the dragon pearl. Her power is now mine.
Adam and He-Man share a very, well, Clark Kent and Superman type of archetype. They're both characters who pretend to be weaker or less important than their superhero counterparts. And it's very interesting to see this dynamic. I'm not sure if Superman was the archetype character who created this type of storyline, but it's brought over incredibly well with the parallel of Adam and He-Man. The fact that someone as weak or seemingly weak as Adam is able to have the courage to take on a mantle such as He-Man and defend the universe as he does, we really feel for this type of character and understand the kind of struggles that he has. There are several episodes which involve Adam coming to terms with the fact that he can't be the hero all the time, that He-Man has to shine while he has to pretend to be what he is. And unfortunately, this does leave Adam feeling wanted and wanting some sort of recognition. But as we find out, he learns to grow from this and continues to play his role, as he will for years to come.
For a long time, I've had the power of He-Man, but to keep that power a secret, I've had to pretend, to be careless and irresponsible. More than anything, I want to give up that disguise and make my father proud of me.
I understand your sorrow, Adam, but you must also recognize the responsibility your power brings.
He-Man and the Master Universe is one of my absolute favorite cartoons from the 1980s. It remains to this day as one of the shining examples of cartoons which is incredibly wholesome for kids. After each episode, there's a public service announcement, if you will. And it's contained usually to a moral which is found in the story. Whether that be one of mischief and knowing what to do, whether it's trying to steal something and understanding the consequences of their actions, or if it's just something of common sense and you're not supposed to walk into a situation without thinking ahead. He-Man and the Master Universe was very much focused on being a safe place for kids to watch and to understand and learn lessons throughout every different episode. It really was a great show, and I really encourage anyone today to show this to other people and remember these great cartoons from the 1980s.
In today's story, Skeletor tried to conquer Eternia by using animals in an evil way. Animals, like all living things, should be treated with kindness and respect. I hope that those of you who have a dog or cat or maybe even a hamster remember that. When we have a pet, we also have a responsibility because they depend on us. But you can be sure of one thing, however much we love them, they return that love and more. Well, time for me to disappear. Bye.
Well guys, I hope you enjoyed my look back at He-Man. It really was one of my favorite cartoons from the 1980s. Eventually, and it's going to take quite some time, but I'm going to start talking about the actual toys that came out around this time. I have a small collection of original He-Man figures, which I want to share with you guys. They are some of my pride and joys, and they have been well played with, and you'll be able to see that yourself. Also, there are some new figures that were coming out and released back in the early 2000s and even being released now today from the company Super 7 through a license from Mattel. Some of these characters I've been able to get myself, and I want to share and review these characters with you guys as well. I hope you'll enjoy those episodes, and I hope you guys will join me on this remembering journey of Masters of the Universe. Guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. Geek proud. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the link in the description below. I've got more videos on the way, and we'll see you at the next one. Geek proud.